Most film fans love a good horror movie, and even more love the rare, actually good horror comedy. Both genres are well loved for their ability to work a reaction out of an audience, and we all know that the perfect marriage of scares and laughs makes for some of the best and most beloved movies in the subgenre. Really though, when you think about it, this only makes it all the more weird that there are almost no good horror spoofs. And I'm not talking spoof in the vein of meta-horror comedies like The Cabin in the Woods or Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. We're talking Scary Movie and Young Frankenstein, the films that take the horror formula and poke fun at it whilst also following it to a T. And aside from those two heavy hitters, the pool of good parodies is alarmingly shallow. But hey, that is what this list is here for, right? Many movies on this list are corny, outdated, and outright cheesy. But they are nonetheless some of the biggest underdog horror spoofs ever, despite, and let's be real, because of, these flaws. I am the mockery of Ash from What Culture Horror, and these are 10 underrated horror movie parodies. 10. Slice. An A24 release, this scrappy indie is stylish and slick, and there are plenty of laughs to be had during its proper goofy story. The convoluted tale of a misunderstood werewolf played by Chance the Rapper, Slice also bounces between dark social satire and more over-the-top, silly humour befitting a sketch show. In the course of its ultimately pointless plot, this underrated film manages to satirise gentrification whilst parodying ghost movies, werewolf films, and cop flicks in the process. An impressive feat by any measure. It's filled with silly moments that make the occasional satirical stabs all the more surprisingly sharp. And a stellar supporting cast including Zazie Beetz, Paul Shear, and Stranger Things' Joe Keery ensures that this oddball spoof is a winner. It is one not to be missed by fans of horror, comedy, and satires of gentrification. No, really, it is good. It is good. 9. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. Probably the best known pick on this list, and admittedly the only one to push the definition of true blue spoof, Tucker and Dale remains crazy overrated despite winning over more than its fair share of cult admirers since its 2010 release. This still underseen film flips the script on the hillbillies versus teens horror of Wrong Turn, The Hills Have Eyes, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre with an ingenious premise. Here, the hillbillies are the misunderstood heroes of the film, a lovable pair who simply want to refurbish a nice cabin in the woods and accidentally come across as monsters due to a string of absurdly unlikely misunderstandings. It's a zany, over-the-top premise and one the film mines for endless laughs. But it's the superb chemistry between leads Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk and love interest Katrina Bowden that make this one an unmissable horror comedy, which makes fun of enough genre conventions and is sufficiently outlandish enough to be called a spoof. 8. Club Dread. Released in 2004, comedy troupe Broken Lizard made a slasher parody called Club Dread, and it never quite got the level of love it deserves. The goofy spoof sees the troupe's members play the owners, operators, and guests of a trashy island resort who are offed one by one when a mass killer surfaces amongst their number. One of the more impressively gross of the flicks listed here, Club Dread epitomises everything good and bad about early noughties comedy. The performances are over the top, the gags are grosser than even the Farrelly brothers would approve of, and there's an endless stream of silly sequences and comically gory kills to keep momentum going. Sure, this is one of the more hit-or-miss entries listed here, but it's a time capsule to an era when zany improv was considered the height of comedy and no joke was too dumb to throw in, including 4 or 5 consecutive different death scenes for one unfortunate character. 7. Monster in the Closet. Monster in the Closet may not be the best film on this list, but it does have one of the most notable alumni. A cheesy teen horror from 1986, this one features the film debut of one Paul Walker as a gadget-obsessed whiz kid who helps ensnare the titular monster. Released by cult heroes Troma Entertainment, this light-hearted film sees Walker's kid genius and a crew of assorted oddballs attempting to take down their classic creature feature style monster plaguing their apartment building and later the entire city. In classic spoof fashion, the jokes come thick and fast, if not necessarily flawlessly written. This one definitely subscribes to the "they're not all good, but there's plenty of them" school of comedy that makes for a charming viewing experience, particularly for fans of monster movies who have always wanted some fun poked at their preferred horror subgenre. 6. Pandemonium. Released in the early 80s, Pandemonium is a slasher spoof which aims to ape the style of the phenomenally popular Airplane. This horror parody epitomises the throw in every joke and see what sticks approach of early 80s spoofs, racking up countless gags in its short runtime. In Pandemonium, the performers don't play the parody deadpan, but instead end up mugging to the camera and goofing off with every line. Despite this, the film's constant stream of jokes ensures it wins over even the most stubbornly unsmiling viewer, as there's only so much sheer absurdity you can endure before you have to laugh. Though the film's plot follows a string of mysterious killings, all manner of flashbacks and diversions ensure the movie has room to parody the likes of Carrie as well as slasher horrors. 5. Wacko. Similar to Pandemonium, this spoof was intended to be a raunchy take on slasher movies. And like Pandemonium again, it is a silly, cheesy, deeply dated success. With a pumpkin-headed killer declaring death to all teenagers who fuck, and a detective walking around with a briefcase full of coffee, there is no doubting that this is one of the cruder offerings listed here. But like the later Scary Movie, there is an undeniable charm to the film's ball-to-the-wall persistence, with each scene flying in the face of good taste as it scrambles to cram as many often lame gags into each frame as possible. Silly, raunchy, and incredibly of its time, this goofy spoof is worth a watch for slasher fans and parody film completionists. 4. National Lampoon's Class Reunion. Released in 1982, National Lampoon's Class Reunion was the third feature film to come from the Mad Magazine-style humour journal. Unlike John Landis's widely beloved instant classic Animal House though, this one didn't win over many critics. Following a script written by John Hughes, this spoof is tasteless, silly, draggy, and a dumb fun good time. Following a group of universally unlikable high school grads who reunite only to be picked off one by one, this one takes obvious inspiration from the likes of Prom Night, Final Exam, and The Dorm That Dripped Blood. But a zany tone that feels like the Rocky Horror Picture Show ensures that it's surprisingly fun and messy. And it doesn't hurt that the film features a singularly surreal performance from cult hero Blackie Dammit, who is also, oddly, the father of the Red Hot Chili Peppers frontman. 3. Dude Bro Party Massacre 3. Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 brings together a slew of internet comedy icons for its surreal, meta-slasher parody plot. The film follows the misadventures of some college students who are picked off one by one by a monstrous mass murderer. Not only filmed in grainy VHS vision, the action is also often interrupted by commercial breaks and interruptions to give that feeling of a well-worn TV recording. This ambitious parody manages to spoof the long-running slasher franchises of the 80s by skipping to the second sequel, messing with a cast of moronic frat bros. The humour is constant and increasingly surreal as the film wears on, with some truly inspired lunacy cropping up by the time characters walk so far that they wander out of the film's reality, or minor villains are revealed to be piles of oranges. It's just that sort of movie. 2. Student Bodies. A rare appearance for the name Alan Smithy on a best of anything list, 1981's Student Bodies is a horror parody which director Mickey Rose opted to disown prior to its release. This earned the film the infamous fake director credit, but honestly it is hard to see why Rose felt compelled to drop the movie from his CV. This slasher parody provided the blueprint for Scary Movie in its self-referential humour, and features a constant reel of gags ranging from ingenious to moronic, all of which make for an inventive and underrated watch. A thin plot follows slasher conventions to a T as some dim-witted teens are picked off by a mass killer, but it's the clever jokes that make this one memorable. Take the scene where a producer steps in to start swearing the film's way to an R rating upon realising there's not enough blood and guts to warrant one. Apparently, viewers hated family-friendly horror even back in the early 80s. 1. Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th. Sillier, broader, and more anarchically weird than Scary Movie, Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th is a classic, you'll know it by the title movie. As in, if that title didn't bring a smile to your slasher fan face, then this one probably isn't for you. Otherwise, horror fans need to seek out this underseen spoof, which was not only as funny as the Wayans brothers' mega hit, but is as underrated as the same year's Not Another Teen Movie. Written off as a mindless spoof by critics, this one is actually full of the odd, surreal, and occasionally cringeworthy invention that made Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 such a solid parody. Taking aim at the meta-revival, this film eventually descends into such bizarre mayhem that it leaves a thinly veiled parody of Scream's video store nerd Randy explaining the rules to surviving a parody movie. And that's our list. What other horror movie parodies belong on this list? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've been Ash, over on social media at Ash Millman, and this has been What Culture. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and come back again soon for some more spine-tingling horror content. Thanks for watching.